Hi, welcome to the Gamesplainer. I'm Jeff the Gamesplainer and today I'm gamesplaining Papillon. So Papillon is a game about butterflies. The whole idea is that you are building areas of garden of different colours, and once a area of garden is complete you can then put a butterfly peg onto one of the plants of that colour. At the end of the game, whoever has the most butterflies on each plant will get the highest number of points. Whoever has the second most and the least will get second most and least points. And each plant is worth something different, and that will be different every game. That should be random. And that's pretty much the game. So this game itself plays from 2 to 4 players. As a 3 or 4 player game, it's really lovely. I really quite appreciate it. As a 2-player game, it takes away some of the really goodness of it. The best way to talk about it is that there's firstly a bidding round where you're bidding for player order, and then in order you take some tiles that are off a grid. So the later in the player order you are, the less tiles you're probably going to be able to take. If you're the first, you're probably going to be able to take 4, if that's what you wish to take. You're then using those tiles to build your garden up, and you're trying to get sections of the same colour. And sections in the same colour will then turn into butterflies on the tree of that colour. Now, in a 3 or 4 player game, you have this bidding thing. So you're using worm tokens as the finance to bid with, and you can bid up to 5. So whoever gets to bid first can put their marker on the 5. They'll spend 5 of their little tokens, and then everyone else will go after them and they'll go first. Or you could spend 1 or 2, anything in between. But then there's this negative space. So you can put 1 on 0, which means you're actually going to get a marker back in. The next player, if they also go on 0, you push down, so you're actually going to get 2 in. So if you bid first and you bid 0, you're going to end up at the back, guaranteed. Whereas if you're bidding first and you bid 1, then who knows where you'll end up. The others will have to spend more to stay in front of you. I really like that. I really like that finickiness of, do I actually want to go first? Does it matter? Having more things, will that be good? All of this stuff. Do I have enough of my little tokens to be able to bid high? Or do I have to go into that negative space to be able to take some more in? And there's this up and down that's going to happen all the way through the game. In the 2-player version of the game, that doesn't exist. You have a first player and a second player. The only time you swap is if someone takes one of the rows, that gives them one of the gnomes. There's gnomes. The gnome literally gives 0, 1 or 2 extra worms into your pile. It's if you take one of the rows that has 2 tiles on it only, you get the gnome. And that will add some extra worms. And in the 2-player game, it's just finance, it's just points. Really, there's no way to spend them. But in the 3 or 4 player game, obviously you can then spend those worms that you've taken in on future turns. There is also, by the way, a maximum of how many of those worm tokens you can have. It's 12, by the way. And so if you've got 12, there's no point in going to the spots that are going to get you more worms in, because you don't get the worms anyway. You might as well start spending them to go to the front. There's a lot of finickiness on, where do I put this? Because placing the tiles into your little garden is the majority of the game. Yes, there's this whole bidding thing, which I really love, but there's placing of the tiles that you've picked up in your garden is the majority of the game. Now, there are points at the end of the game for who has for your largest 2 garden areas. So everyone will get those scored. So if you can get a garden area that has 6 tiles in, you'll get 12 points. If you can get 2 of them, that's 14 points. But once you've got those 2 areas built and large enough and that you're happy with, you actually want to do really small areas, because the moving a butterfly onto the tree or onto the little, let's call it a tree, or onto the plant is crucial to the game. You must get your butterflies over there to be able to score any of them. But those large areas, which are going to get you multiple points, they must be closed. So you can be going after a large area, and if you don't get the right tile to close that area off at the end of the game, you're stuffed. You're getting very few points. And there's a real push-pull on, oh, when do I close this area off? Is this one big enough? And because you're going for two bigger areas, it's worthwhile pushing into that. Now, also on the bigger area thing, the number of tiles that are in an area directly affects your ability to put butterflies up onto the little plants. If you have an area that is 3 or larger, you'll put your butterfly on, but you'll also get a +1 if you are the first person to put a butterfly onto that particular plant. What the +1 does means you can put another butterfly onto a plant. So every plant has a single +1, and you get to the point in the game where you're going, oh, okay, I can put this in on this plant, which has a few other butterflies on it, but it's potentially going to get 11 points, or I could put on this one, but it's only going to get 7 points for the person who has the most butterflies there, but I get a +1. And so you're balancing up which of those plants you're going to put them onto. The other thing is that at the end of the game, you're scoring for the number of butterflies in an enclosed field. What this whole game is about enclosing stuff. Stuff that is not enclosed doesn't get you any points. It's not worth anything. That's really cool. Now, I have a couple of issues with this game. My first issue is with the rulebook. There's a couple of pages of just talk. Oh, this game's about this and about this and about this. We don't actually get to the rules until a fair way into the game. Once you're in the rules aren't specific on a couple of points. So I think I mentioned it in my Gamesplay that if you have the same number of butterflies on a tree plant thing at the end of the game, and you're both get the most, both of you get the most points. So you might both get 11 points. The other player, if they've got less butterflies, if there's 3 players, for example, the less butterflies, it doesn't state if the next player gets the second amount of points or if they get the third amount of points. I assume that's third amount of points, but that's just because I played a lot of games. If this was a fresh game to me, I'd be looking at it going, I don't know what to do with this. And so my instinct is you just need to make a decision and stick with it and say, this is what's going to happen. But the rules should be really clear on that, and they're not. It irks me, to be quite honest with you. Other things that irk me with this game is that the back of the main board has a score tracker on it. Great! It's a really good idea. The score tracker goes to 50. The problem is whenever I've played a game of this, generally I'm getting around 80 or 90 points. Which isn't the end of the world, but it's like if you're putting a score tracker in, you need to have a way of tracking what the actual score is. Not get 50, just go again, and I can't remember. Most other games that you have to do multiple rounds will have a token that will say, and this was 50. You can take that in, that's 50 points, then whatever you're up to on the board. Bear in mind, another thing, oh my goodness, there's so many, these tiny little things that are irking me on this game. I really enjoyed the game, don't misunderstand me, I enjoyed playing it, but there's a couple of things just go, they grind me because they should be fixed, they shouldn't be issues. And that's really the problem of it. The game box this is our main board. So there's that tracker that I was talking about. It's got little ways to score points on the bottom as well. That's great, but only goes to 50. Now, the game box has an area that is dropped down so that board can fit in. The problem is that the area is slightly too large. It's maybe 5 millimeters too large in one direction and 2 millimeters too large in the other, 1 or 2 in the other. The problem is that if you put the board in, there is a area of that board, in fact, there are 2 areas of that board, if you can look really closely, that click past. It defeats the purpose of having an inbuilt thing in the box. It's a matter of this much, it's a matter of thinking through things. They've obviously had a design in mind and gone, yeah, this will work, but not actually married the two up. It bugs me. It really does. It feels to me like this has probably come from Kickstarter. I don't know. I got this in a shop, and look, that's fine. If it came from Kickstarter, that's fine as well. But if you're going from Kickstarter, you must still think through everything that's going into the box and not just kind of go, that'll do. Within the box, look, the design of everything, it all fits, it's fine. The rest of it's fine. But just that one little thing is enough to go, yeah, I'm really coming down on this one. I do apologize because as I said before, the game itself is playable. The game itself is a nice think of crunchiness, of oh, if I put it here, I'll get this points if I put it here. That whole idea of taking tiles and placing them, it's really good. I really appreciate the game. Just those couple little things that would be so easy to fix. I really, really wish they had fixed them. Look, I think that I'll leave it there. Please go ahead and watch my Gamesplained Gamesplanation to get a feel for how the game actually plays. If you have any games that you would like to be gamesplained, please shoot me an email to thegamesplainer@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter @thegamesplainer to keep up to date with the games I'm playing. Subscribe to my videos to keep up to date with the games that I'm gamesplaining. And until next time, enjoy gaming.